Love me some double Saigore action. Yep, there it goes. This replay featuring Captain Telis versus Inkars. We're actually going to take a look at a best of 3 series between these two, starting with this game right here, featuring the Tomb Kings versus, Beastmen. Tomb Kings riding hot under Inkars' leadership. It's got some skeleton horse archers. Khalida also as the lord here. Ushabti, looks like a 1-2 melee Ushabti with the a couple of great bows as well, including the Chosen of the Gods, Regiment of Renown, Lich Priest of Nehekara just on foot for extra cheap cost. And we've got a bunch of Tomb Guard and skeletons, mostly skeleton spears, a couple of warriors, actually good mix of both. And then the 2 Tomb Guard halberds. Very interesting choices. The halberds in particular generally are pretty good against Beastmen, but of course, Tomb Guard halberds are quite light, which makes them somewhat vulnerable to certain things, like high DPS, which Beastmen certainly have. They've got some Ungor Spearman herd here, the double Saigore, and some Khorne Gores, along with Ungor Raiders and some Razor Gore herds out on the flanks. So decent amount of AP, decent amount of anti-large, and then of course the 2 Saigores to kind of set the initiative and the pace. Going to be pounding out, yep, both trained onto Tomb Guard, the most expensive infantry here. Will be the best value, trying to take them out at range. And some Flock of Doom as well, kind of air skirmish from Malagor. Let's see what else he's rocking here. He does have the Saigore summons, so we could see a couple more Saigores pop up, potentially. And indeed, one does get summoned right here in the back line. See if it's going to throw rocks or attempt to maybe act as a melee screen here for these skeleton horse archers, some of which are going to get caught by Khorne Gores on the charge. Khorne Gores actually, I think, had a charge order onto the Ushabti Grey Bows, which is a great target for them, but kind of getting broken up a little bit by the horse archers. Some counterfire also coming in from the Ungor Raiders, so both sides scrapping hard so far. Out on this side, we got some Ungor Spearman herd and Razor Gore herd getting eaten up without much support. Lines of the Beastmen very quickly folding on this side, but at the same time, distance is going to be a resource itself, as the Saigores try and use up as much of their ammunition as they can before Tomb Kings get too close. Summon Saigore as well, taking some nice shots. And we got the Ungor herds moving in to replace the spears. Currently routing. A couple of Razor Gores also turning around the flank here. We're going to go after the skeleton horse archers and pressure them. Yeah, 70 speed on the Razor Gores means they can potentially catch skeleton horse archers, especially on the charge. Skeleton horse archers slightly faster, but as is the case with most units, their charge animation will be a little bit faster even still. So Razor Gore's doing fine here. Also, Razor Gore's doing okay. The skeleton horsemen will be a decent trade in terms of cost against them, but they are fighting right underneath the gaze of the Saigores. So let's see how that plays out. Eye of Morsleep quite literally has its gaze, which can freeze units in place. And it is going to get used here on this unit of skeleton horsemen, so relatively cheap, and I don't know actually how much benefit he's going to get from it. They still made contact with those Ungor Raiders, and a little terror route from the Tomb Strike of High Queen Khalida. And it looks like the Eye of Morsleep will be engaged in combat here, maybe not. Looks like the skeleton horsemen might try and chase some routing units. Yeah, Khalida, with the support of the Ushabti, would have a fine time taking out the Eye of Morsleep, but the other Saigore still at a distance, pounding away. And the summoned Saigore, too, is probably, has a decent amount of time left on it still. Nope, actually not that much. Only 300 value. Yeah, so how impactful is that at the end of the day? Hard to say. Would it have been better to just spam more Flocks of Doom? Probably, but you gotta admire the style points. Taking the Saigore summon. Khalida continuing to kind of combo with her horsemen here, trying to take out these Razor Gore herds. Leaves the Ushabti to fight the Eye of Morsleep. This is going to go a little bit poorly. The Ushabti unsupported don't have the best attack against the Eye of Morsleep, and on the other hand, it can use its own armor-piercing attacks to do some pretty good damage to them. None of these units are really designed to fight each other super well, but yeah, 32 melee defense versus only 17 melee attack for the Ushabti here. So not great. Going to be pretty low damage output there, but let's see how it continues to play out, as the Tomb Kings do have a decent kind of positional advantage. They've got a lot of the Beastmen troops routing. Now, army-wide fear definitely coming in play in a matchup like this against low leadership targets. But let's see, Malagor dropping to the ground, trying to get a cheeky little snipe on the Lich Priest. He's going to get forced back up into the air, though. And balance of power somewhat against the Beastmen. Beastmen tend to have very good balance of power in general, but nice charge for those Saigore herds. Freeze the Ushabti with Warp Gaze, get an okay engagement despite how weakened the Saigores were. They were able to come in and get one final glorious charge. And the Saigore also throwing some rocks at point-blank range, can kind of defend itself relatively well. Ushabti probably will lose out on that, but then the rest of the army here for the Beastmen, managed to crumble some more skeleton warriors, but a lot of things getting chased. But then another Saigore summon. Malagor going all in, probably try and throw rocks at these Chosen of the Gods, who actually themselves haven't used up much of their great bow ammunition. So let's see, little Flock of Doom here as well, try and get those Tomb Guards off. Ooh, yeah, rock lands there as well, does some really nice damage. So tactically, this Saigore is doing some pretty critical work at an important time and place in the battle. Meanwhile, the other unsummoned Saigore is completely healthy still, has used up a good amount of its ammunition. And the Beastmen managed to get a little bit of a rally going here. The Corngores will get hammered on the Ushabti by the charge, but will provide Ungor Raiders and Saigore herds an opportunity to move in and do some damage. Yeah, I'd imagine the Ushabti will lose out on that engagement in the long run, even if they rout the Corngores, although Tomb Guards there to assist. Their low armor will haunt them perhaps against those Ungor Raiders, but Ungor herds here also fighting skeletons in the open field. Absolute clash of low-tier troops. We're going to see Khalida move in to try and finish the Saigore here. The Eye of Morslib being assisted somewhat by Malagor. Although he is kind of getting staggered locked a little bit here. He's got to be careful not to get beat up by Khalida. But the Saigore is also going to move in screen. Unfortunately, Eye of Morslib does rout there. Ushabti pop just in time for Khalida to finish off leadership. But let's see. Right now, the Saigores, ooh, yeah, oh, nasty rock throw there from the regular Saigore against the Chosen of the Gods. That is going to net some incredible value. This Saigore, not the Eye of Morslib, but the other one, yeah, 1,500 value, 20,000 damage dealt, 223 kills. Definitely has been putting in some pretty serious work against this Tomb King's army. And it's probably going to finish off the Chosen of the Gods here. Yeah, Malagor moves in to force crumbling, and they will be taking that free damage. Some more Flock of Doom as well against these Skeleton Spears. So, Tomb Guard Halberds here having some leadership issues. Summon Saigore is almost gone, but in the meantime, fighting with Corngore supports. Pretty good engagement for them. Again, tactically, this is quite nice, even if Saigore itself probably didn't get that much value at the end of the day in terms of raw damage value. But will it be enough? Tomb Guards actually kind of stabilized a little bit with the Saigore falling. Malagor also moves over to the Chosen of the Gods, try and take them out. Yeah, this Tomb Guard up here gets guided to death by Ungor Raiders and is already crumbling out. So, Undead having some leadership issues, although, of course, their units will continue to fight even while crumbling, which is a huge benefit. But let's see, Ushabti Greatbow is going to try and stay on the move, perhaps stay away from the Saigore, which is significantly slower than them. They should have no problem outrunning the Saigore there. And High Queen Khalida also going to move in. Ooh, they're both pretty tired. Khalida's got way better stats overall, but the weapon strength is pretty close. So, especially if Malagor were able to move in for a 2v1, although he currently has Incantation of Desiccation active on him, so probably does not want to take that engagement. But Saigore's got plenty of health for now, just to kind of stand and rumble with Khalida. He's been taking some pretty successful attacks so far. Eye of Morslib does rally there in the distance. It's going to immediately get killed on that volley, but at least it got one more rock throw off before it gets sniped from way downtown. Yeah, let's move in close and watch as Khalida is going to try and make her final stand here. A little bit of stutter stepping from the Saigore, but eventually does find its area to attack. And 2v1, I really like the chances of Malagor and the Saigore here. But let's see if Khalida can hold her own. She does have the Lich Priest, who is a terrible melee combatant, but he is a single entity. He's going to move in here and try and assist. Gets whomped by the Saigore right there, but Khalida, with her Tomb Strike active, gets some pretty good hits on Malagor. Let's see if she can keep him locked on the ground with her poison attacks. Nope. He manages to just barely squeak back up into the air. And Khalida moves in to try and take out these other lower tier units. Ushabti Greatbow is going to fire off one more volley into the Saigore. Yeah, do some solid damage, get him down below 50% HP. And then Malagor moves in to finish them off. The Ungor Raiders get a nice volley. Khalid's down about 1200 HP, so just sheerly through that low HP value, she's going to struggle to get through almost 5000 HP of the Saigore, plus like an extra 2000 for Malagor. I'm not seeing it being super favorable for the Tomb Kings to try and win, but certainly never over until it's actually over. Leah doing some nice grinding there, fighting pretty well. Incantation of Desiccation is a great way for her to try and get an advantage here. Maybe should have waited until the Saigore was also in range to try and hit both of them at the same time. And also fighting Malagor here in range of the Ungor Raiders will mean they can get some free hits, but at the same time, if you fight the Ungor Raiders, it's just going to get like cycle charged by Malagor and by the Saigore, so definitely kind of a catch-22 situation for Kalita, and I'd imagine she's pretty close to crumbling. Yep, Inkar's going to throw in the towel there, and that will be a victory for Captain Telis, at least on the game one. Of course, it's best of 3, so be sure to tune in for the rest of the series, and for Captain Telis here. Yeah, I mean, the Korngors, not great. Most of the infantry, to be honest, just glorified roadblocks. A few of the Ungors managed to pay for themselves, but yeah, mostly it's going to be Razorgors doing a nice job supporting the 2 Saigores. The non-Regiment of Noun, I should say, in particular, gets some really nice value. We don't see the value on Malagor of the 2 that he summoned, but they would have contributed some. The one we saw about 300. The other one, I'm guessing, maybe a little bit more, considering it was getting volleys against more higher value targets. But yeah, man, look at that symmetry. Both these Ushabti Greybos, 1008 gold value. Although that's decently cost-effective for the non-ROR one, not great for the Regiment of Renown. And the melee Ushabti, again, one of them pays for themselves, one of them does not. Skeleton Horsemen do all right here. The Skeleton Horse Archers in particular, it's tough against Beastmen because of their speed difference. Like, them being significantly slower than a lot of regular skirmish cavalry definitely hurts them. They're not in that 90 speed range, right? So definitely can get caught by a lot more things, and especially against a highly mobile faction like the Beastmen can be an issue. But overall, fun one. Kalita definitely gets some good value on her own. Decent combatant all around. But yeah, at the end of the day, just couldn't quite win that final single entity fight, but ended up being super close. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Be sure to stay tuned for the next one, and we'll see you next time.